Cool.
So just to preface that thought we were just having, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like I have this band called the Squirrels. Okay,
Yeah.
that's why I'm Papa's Squirrel. So the
Okay,
reason
cool.
that band exists is because of them. Like I'm not even shitting you. Like the reason that band exists is because me and the guy that started it just showed up in the banjo players camp one day, and that's where we met each other.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for like 10 fucking years, more than like, you know, like kind of because of them almost, because like we were just sitting there and I didn't even realize who they were all day, and we were just sitting there hanging out all day, and it's just like
yeah.
And then they played the last set of the festival I was at. They were like the final set, and it was like, it was weird.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was amazing. And it was weird because it was like everybody. It was my first festival too, but every single person that I had met through the whole weekend were all like in the very front row.
Yeah.
It was weird.
It's great. That community is awesome. Like honestly, the first time I saw Sad Daddy was I was actually supposed to go. I wanted to go see my friend Grace Stormont.
Oh yeah, I know Grace too. She's a good friend of mine too.
She's a great vibe.
I met her that same festival.
And she was right up front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So Grace and I met in Mountain View, and we were both musicians down there. She was farther along than I was, but it was just cool. I wanted to go see her, and then she was opening up for a band, and I had no idea who the band was.
Yeah.
And it was at Meadow Creek, which was a venue I think in Fox, Arkansas, and it's like way deep into the forest, but it's a beautiful barn. And I went to go see her.
Freaking heater.
Our heater guy is fired.
He's gone.
Well, he took a break.
Freaking
right.
Elliot. He had to go to the bank. He's the important one.
We're gonna have to tell him. I was like, we missed you, man. Like, Carolina all of a sudden, you know, she like lost it and like turned off the heater, threw it across the room.
Where's our heater guy? Oh God.
Yeah, it's all right. He's getting a raise next time I see him.
What's that supposed to mean?
That I'm docking your pay to pay him.
Damn it. Wait, he's getting paid?
In cheese that we have here, you know.
In pocket cheese.
Absolutely. We have a small cubes of cheddar cheese and tomatoes and hummus.
Sounds like there's some fucking hippies in here, man. Like shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so the whole point of this podcast, or at least the one I'm doing, I don't know what everybody else is going to do. I think they're all going to do one, everyone that's involved with the studio.
Very cool.
But mine, I want to focus more on Ozark music history, because it doesn't seem, at least, and you said this, you did the Smithsonian gig.
Yeah.
Besides that, really, I don't think, and there's a book by Vance Randolph that that talks about like every single Ozark folk song that there is, pretty much.
Right, yeah.
So like tell me more about where you come from, your musical background, and how that relates to the Ozarks.
So that's where I started, really. I actually just posted a video of myself the very first time I sang, and it was in Mountain View, Arkansas, which is self-named the folk music capital of the world.
Okay, so it's self-named.
Well, it is a big, it's a big hub for folk music, old-time music, bluegrass music now as well.
Okay.
It's a really big hub for it.
See, I don't think I've ever been into Mountain Home, into the music scene really there at all. I wasn't even aware there was one like you're talking about. There is, you know.
Well, that's more because it's in Mountain View. So
Mountain View. My bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Mountain View has a different scene.
Okay. Yeah, they do metal. I think I've seen metal there before.
So they're a little bit more modern music. Mountain View is almost like it's stuck in time.
Okay.
You know.
There's places like that here too in Eureka.
Yeah, it is, which is I think why I find it so comforting. Whenever I came here, at first it was very it was intimidating because of just the tall buildings, and I was like, what did I get myself into? There's so many stairs.
Oh my god, yeah. They never end.
They literally never end. And it just, the Mountain View itself is a little bit more flat, and it's a multi-generational music scene. So the children that are 5 and 6 all they all play in a program called Music Roots. You know, well, fifth, sixth, and up in grade school, middle school. Sorry, I had to go ahead and silence that phone before it started pinging.
Oh, you're good. You're good. No, I'm mad again.
Oh no! Am I fired now?
Yeah,
oh,
fired from the podcast. I'm just kidding. Keep going. Keep going.
So they are multi-generational. So when you come in from like, there are families there that they're, you know, they play music, their father plays music, their grandfather and their great-grandfather plays music, and those get passed down, you know, like those skills get passed down, but also all of the other little friends that they hang out with also play music because the families hang around. That's a big pastime in Mountain View, is to go picking at the park.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll put quotations on that because it's called the Pickin' Park, you know, and it used to be all around the court square, the courthouse, you know, and people would be in the back with like in the front lawns, you know, people would gather and they would call them pickins, you know.
Okay.
Pam Setzer is actually the one that showed me that, you know. She told me that they would just gather in people's homes and they would play music together. That was a wonderful thing, just sharing fellowship, but also just being able to find something to do together as a community.
Okay.
You know.
So like, have you ever? Okay, this is opening me up to a lot of questions.
Okay.
I didn't even think about it. So like, have you seen, in your personal experience, have you seen families like evolve certain styles or like certain riffs?
Yes.
Or something like, you know, like you can tell that song came from that family when you're sitting.
Yeah. So I know several families. Yeah, and they all have very distinct ways of playing. So there is one family in particular. The father is a banjo player, guitar player. He grew up playing music. The mother is a piano player, a bass player. She teaches, you know, they both teach at the school, or he does, you know, his occupation, but he's also part of the Music Roots program. Their daughter plays banjo. Well, she picked up the banjo from him.
Wow.
She started off in a different style of hammer, claw hammer banjo. For context, there are like the main ones that I hear in Mountain View are like 3-finger style, like Scruggs style, which is more for bluegrass.
Okay.
And then there is the claw hammer, which is more for folk music or for old time. And she's mastered both.
Okay, I was gonna say it's probably hard to do like a complete distinction between the two. I would feel like in some areas, probably not with everything, but you know, like there's obviously folk songs that aren't bluegrass.
Yeah.
That still have the same vibe, kind of, but it's still not like bluegrass, you know.
Yeah. So there's depending on how far back you go, there's a clear distinction between bluegrass and folk music.
Okay.
You know, and there is a very clear divide of who I've seen plays bluegrass, which you can cross over, obviously.
Yeah.
But some people like to stick to strictly old time and folk music, or even just old time music, and strictly to bluegrass. You know, and it's just the way you play them is different. You know, the way that the feel of how you play them, the licks are different. I remember this particular girl who plays the banjo. She started off in old time, and and then started crossing over. She said she would never play bluegrass, and then all of a sudden she's playing with like this nationally touring bluegrass band. You know,
weird.
Yeah, and it's
that's
awesome.
How it goes.
But it is because she started learning from her father, and her father gave her three rules, you know, or 3 things that she needed to follow if she wanted to play bluegrass banjo. And I might get them wrong, but tone, timing, and drive. I think those were the 3 that he really like hammered down on. and she's become an extremely well accomplished, just well-rounded musician because of not just her father, but also the people that her father plays music with.
Yeah.
They can, be the pseudo uncles or the aunts or just friends, and even the people that she hangs out with are also in those families, so they all are learning from the last generation. So one generation learns from the previous one.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been in Mountain View for 5 years, 6 years. I started playing guitar about 6 years ago. I started singing about 7. And I've learned how to play guitar, and then enough to back myself up, enough to go ahead and get my.
Yeah. Enough to like back yourself up when you're singing it,
Yeah.
write songs.
Yeah, and so then I started learning banjo and ukulele and mandolin and bass,
Cool.
And
yeah, once you learn one of them, they can all kind of like come into the realm pretty easy.
Yeah. So I mean, and I realized that the standard of music, regardless of whether people can agree with me or not, the standard of music in Mountain View is higher, because I would call myself a relatively, beginner to intermediate, guitar player outside of Mountain View. But in Mountain View, I'm a baby.
Yeah.
I'm a novice.
Yeah.
There are, like the people that I've learned from are 94 years old, and then I've also learned from the 9-year-old.
Yeah.
And the 9-year-old will come and ask me. She's this particular 9-year-old is, several times a state champion, but she's the one playing fiddle for a band of 70-year-olds.
Yeah, I've seen stuff like that here too, a little bit.
Yeah, and she plays fiddle. Her sister plays the banjo. The oldest sister of the bunch, she's 10-time 12 state champion, I think. She is currently a national champion with her band. And she's teaching that generation, the next generation of little fiddle players. Her best friend is also a state champion and banjo champion, and she's teaching the next generation. It's just really cool. I've learned from probably about 4 different generations of people, and all of them have taught me entirely different things.
So this is something else that interests me, because there's like a new, and maybe not necessarily new, but just like the next evolution of that kind of music coming from people that kind of came to the Ozarks in their own way, instead of people that grew up here generationally. I feel like there's like a bigger impact on the music that gets generated in general out of places like that, and like Mountain Home and Eureka Springs and things like that, where Mountain View. Yeah, see? You can slap me after we get done with this. It'll be all right.
It's okay. You read my lips. That's the greatest thing.
Jeez. I'm going to go drive off a bridge or something. I don't know. Anyway.
Please don't do that. We have enough songs about rivers.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Jeez. Bobby Gentry and all that stuff.
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. So one of the interesting things about folk songs is, and I've said this before, the songs that are about men and women and rivers are sometimes very dark, and most of the times are very dark.
A lot of drownings.
Right. But those songs were warnings sung by merchants from town to town to town, in case the person that was doing all of these things would go into the next town.
So it's like a death ballad for safety.
Yes, it is.
For safety's sake.
Yeah, it's a warning.
So that kind of makes sense too, because, and this kind of goes into the point I was just making too, for a long, because I've read up on Ozark history in general a little bit, and up until, like the highway came, pretty much, most of the people that lived here were super isolated. There wasn't a lot of travel through the area, mainly because of the road and the mountain and all that. Yeah. And there wasn't a lot of outside influence. Mm-hmm. So all this music, all this intergenerational stuff just came from like isolation from from like early settlers. So this is like, and I think that now that, like people like us are coming into the area,
Yeah.
that maybe didn't start with a generational thing. I think it's also changing, more than likely changing the way that they play as well.
Yeah, yeah. So the big thing for someone like that did come here and is trying to learn is you don't have those certain nuances. One, there is a little bit of like not necessarily exile, but you do have to like work your way into the circles sometimes, you know. Some of these songs have been in for generations through generations through generations. And it's for me, I started, you know, using the way I play because I developed my style through old time and through folk music and even bluegrass. But I started getting inspiration from other genres of music, because a lot of people do come here and they sing they sing the songs, but they sing them in their style.
Yeah.
You know, so then just a little bit of something gets added along. So whenever you were creating these songs, you say like, what would be a good one? I guess Banks of the Ohio would be a good one.
Okay.
Where it has verses, but it's not the same in every place. It's a different, slightly different wording, phrasing, a slightly different melody. There's so many different verses to Oh Me Wise, but Banks of the Ohio is. Do you mind if I sing just a chorus?
Yeah,
of
go
it?
ahead, go ahead.
Okay. And only say that you'll be mine. In our homes, we'll happy be. Down by the side where the waters flow. Down by the banks of the Ohio. So, go ahead.
No, go. I'm intently listening.
Awesome. So, in our homes we'll happy be. In another region was in no other's arms entwine. You know, down by the side where the waters flow, down by the banks of the Ohio. So Grace and I play the same song. I had to learn her way of singing it because I learned it a different way.
Okay.
And we both learned the same, you know, we both learned it in the same place, but we learned 1, different words, 2, different melodies, 3, different chord progressions.
And probably learned it from different families.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I learned it from somebody that was originally from deep in Louisiana. Like, not from them, but from their father. You know?
Wow.
And their father was an older man who had him later in life. And this man is already 60-something years old. So I learned an 1800s version from Deep South. And I think she learned the Appalachian version. So very, very different regions.
Yeah.
But that came here, and those songs came to the Ozarks.
It's kind of the middle ground for both of those places anyway. You know,
Yeah.
and those are both like very, very similar areas when it comes to things like before the highway came. You know, these are very isolated areas.
Yeah.
You know, and I could see like somebody from the bayou coming in the mountains and going to the hard to travel place.
Yes.
Because they're used to it.
Yeah, well, so part of the big idea of the Ozarks, it actually is a very big migrant heavy region, you know. There were a lot of people that migrated to the Ozarks, you know, from all different places from the country.
Mm-hmm.
And all their songs came with them. That's why a big part of American folk music is Celtic ballads and English ballads. I started adding more into my own repertoire because that's where I started with Danny Boy and the reprise of Danny Boy and the melody for the Danny Boy that I know is London Derriere, you know, and it's beautiful and wonderful. And the American folk songs, which were, you know, like, which were eventually also the river songs, and like they started developing a style all their own, depending on where you were. Because the way you play a banjo, you can play like a riverboat banjo, or you can play like strictly driven, you know?
You're like Kermit the Frog banjo, or your strict bluegrass banjo.
Yeah. I was like, are you Steve Martin?
Oh yeah, are you Steve Martin or Kermit the Frog?
Yeah. And I mean, like, it all develops its own sound. Where you come from, who your influences are, what family you've been taught from, you know?
That adds another layer,
Yeah.
you know, to the already super complex like diversity that comes to people and their taste.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It just adds like a whole other thing that you probably, I would imagine, in most parts of the United States now is gone.
Yeah.
Like I could see there being maybe like 2 or 3 more little pockets out there, like in the Appalachians and maybe in the Bayou too.
Yeah. But I can see that.
Yeah, but for the most, you know, when I've traveled across the country, there's not very many places that have little pockets like this. Like, so there's one in Colorado that I've been in the mountains that's very similar to this.
So Mountain View has a program called Music Roots that is meant to preserve old time music.
Okay.
And they have, I think you start off in 5th grade. I think we spoke about this a second ago. I don't know, I'm a little forgetful.
I think you touched on it a little bit. But I think it was before I pressed the record button.
Got it. Okay. So there's a Music Roots program, and it's in Stone County, you know, but they have 3 different schools. Well, all 3 different schools have people, musicians from the community, that go and volunteer or get hired as teachers to teach the next generation of elementary school students old time music, and they also teach them how to play their first instrument.
So this is like a normal educational thing that happens.
Yeah.
Like a curricular thing.
Well, you can sign up for it. Yeah.
Yeah, more so like it's not available in other areas in the same way, and you probably
it isn't. Yeah. No, which is why also the standard of excellence is deeper, is higher. You know, it's as far as like learning the songs, you know, knowing the history of songs. The Folk Center does a great job of having musicians that are able to explain the history of the songs because they learn it and they study it in order to be able to perform. And like yesterday actually was my birthday.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that.
Yeah, yesterday was my birthday, and
you were having a good old time.
Oh my gosh, I was having a great time, and they started playing a jig. Do you know the band that was playing? I know they're locals here, and I think they're an Irish. No?
Where?
At Chelsea's.
Oh, it's probably Kevin's band.
I don't know.
Yes. The sound guy.
Yeah.
Band? Yeah. Oh, I know the name of it, but I can't remember right now. He was in Skinny Gypsies.
Right.
And I think they're still a thing, but he told me about a new Celtic thing that he's trying to do. Yeah. And I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
We'll have to cameo that later.
Yeah. At some point I'm gonna have Kevin in here too, because he also seems to me like he probably knows a good deal about this stuff. So
I mean, with the music that he was playing, he's doing jigs. I'm used to dancing jigs because I'm from a place that teaches you how to jig dance.
Okay.
And it teaches you how to waltz, and it teaches you the square dances. So it's really cool. And I remember they said they were going to do a jig dance. And I kept saying that last night. I was having
God.
I kept just like having a hard time.
You're gonna dance the jig.
Yes. So they said 6/8. I was like, I wonder if I could dance that. And then I heard it and I was like, oh, I absolutely can. This is so familiar to me. This is home. And I for once am wearing a skirt, so I'm dancing around in circles and running up and down, and people probably think I'm crazy.
But that's part of the thing. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, it is. And you know, we have shows, and we used to have shows on Thursday nights, you know, where they would have the locals come and play, and they would have square dances on the gigantic stage.
That was me.
Yeah. I know, I saw. No, but it's cool. I learned how to jig dance from that 9-year-old.
Wow.
you know, she's the one that really just stood there with me. I am 30 years old, okay? I am 30. I was 30 when she taught me. Or 29. I don't know.
we won't tell anyone.
I don't
which
know.
one it was.
But when she did, it became very, very, not necessarily easy, but it just became more comfortable for me to be able to do it because she was so supportive. When the 9-year-old is teaching a woman 3 times her age how to dance, it's because it's the community and it's the culture.
Yeah.
You know? And it's beautiful. Her brother is I think he's a national champion in dance.
I would believe that, yeah.
Every time, and I'm gonna embarrass him. In jig dancing and in clogging, I think, but
Wow.
one or the other. But he's but then there's also flat footing, you know. So there's another style of dance as well, and he can probably beat me up later. I didn't say his name; it's fine. But he's 17 years old. The first time I saw him dance, I was like, what? And he plays mandolin, you know, he just got, I shouldn't say it, but he just got 2nd place in a very, very big festival, you know, for the mandolin competition. And
sounds like Winfield to me.
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know. Twice in a row.
Maybe or maybe not.
Maybe. Yeah. Man, if you're listening to this and you have to, like, you do the deep homework, you're gonna find out who I'm talking about. But otherwise,
hey, well, that's the kind of people I hope to grab with all this stuff. Because yeah, that's, oh my god.
The people who are gonna be listening so intently and they're gonna like googling who won 2nd place the last 2 times at Winfield.
Exactly.
I was like, golly, man.
So when it comes to the Ozarks in general,
yeah,
right? How, and I know everybody has different views on this. What the fuck do you think is happening in this mountain range that makes everything so goddamn weird?
Bro, you picked the right one today.
Hell yeah. Because I feel like this also does, in the long run, translate into music, because this also probably has to deal with the folklore of the area in general, anyway, or geology or anything else that could pertain to you.
So this is gonna seem a little, this one might seem a little outlandish.
I'm here for it.
All right, so as humans, as people, you know, who did not have technology and didn't have access to water, not just the isolation, but didn't before that, humans stuck around to water sources, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Animals do the same thing.
Oh yeah.
What's to say that the rest of the creatures out there don't also do that?
I think there's there could be a strong case made for that.
There is an immense, amount of energy flowing through the rivers.
Oh yeah.
You know, water is life, but also water is exactly what feeds everything. It feeds the trees, it feeds the fish, it feeds the people, it feeds everything. You go to the water to cleanse yourself. Yeah. And no, I'm not talking about just physically, I'm talking about spiritually, emotionally, you know?
Yeah.
That does not mean go commit murder, please.
Yeah, I understand.
Like, again, too many river songs.
Yeah, don't go drown someone in the river.
That's not what we mean.
No.
No. But the thing about it is like, you do. And everything that is living or has been alive, you know, eventually goes back to the water.
Yeah.
You know, it goes back into the earth, but the rain will always lead you back to the water.
Oh yeah.
You know? And honestly, the valleys are where you can hear almost a second voice, you know, because of the echo.
Oh yeah.
Which is where a lot of that folklore can come from, is like the foots, if you're in a cavernous place and you're walking and you hear footsteps behind you, that's creepy as hell.
Yeah.
Okay? I heard it in Eureka Springs walking home.
Just in the middle of the street.
Well, in the middle of the night. Yeah. Because it was close to midnight.
Okay, so that's another thing that I'm going to touch on.
Oh yeah.
Talking about all this is because I think that all of the paranormal activity that happens here is
Mhm.
so deeply ingrained in the whole area, not just in Eureka,
Mhm.
but in the Ozarks in general. I think it's become part of the culture and part of the reason why some of the music comes across the way that it is.
Yeah.
So like one of my friends in town, and I've had this experience too, where you're walking down the street in the middle of Eureka in the middle of the night, usually during the wintertime.
There is someone walking
And
behind you.
a couple of people have been pushed. I've been pushed.
No way.
It's crazy.
Wait. I want to know more about that. Tell me, what was happening? What headspace were you in?
I was by myself, just walking very like, I don't know. I don't know. It was just kind of normal. I was on my way to my friend's house.
Mm-hmm.
And, coming from Chelsea's, because Chelsea's is like, for some reason, some weird little other thing that kind of has, I feel like, a little bit to do with the discussion sometimes too. But yeah, do you know how many dead people are in Chelsea's?
No.
As far as I know, that is the resting place, the final resting place of at least, I want to say 4 different people are in it.
Really?
Yeah.
I want to know more about that.
So the original owner is buried underneath the stage.
No way.
Yes.
I heard about that actually yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind if we turn this heater on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I can cut some of the noise of it out when it comes back. Yeah, so I think you have something going about that water thing too. So there's another place that I want to visit, and this is totally off kilter, and then we'll get back on track.
But, I'm totally down for this discussion, wherever this takes me.
So there's a place in Arizona that I'm planning on going in like March.
Where? Because I was supposed to be going to Arizona.
Apache Junction.
I want to go.
Okay.
Can we make it a road trip?
We could do that. I'm gonna go through El Paso first.
Okay.
Like I'm going through El Paso because I'm gonna stop and see a friend in El Paso, and then go to Apache Junction. But I'm not gonna be like going there to stay. I gotta come back. Just FYI. So like if you want to go on a road trip, I'm coming back. I'm not staying. Because I know everybody does road trips different.
So some of my friends are actually headed to Arizona.
Oh, cool.
And I was supposed to be traveling with them, but something keeps calling me over there.
Happened.
Something keeps calling me to Arizona, man.
Well, you can get in the van if you want to go. You can get in the van, and if they're already out there, and you want to stay, you get it. I mean,
yeah, no.
I know how that traveling thing goes.
Yeah, that's the thing is like I remember talking to them about going to Arizona, and I was like, I gotta have 3 months of my bills paid and like a savings account.
Yeah,
before I do all that.
I want to leave with $2,000. I don't want to leave with like.
$2 and hope.
Yeah, in a begging sense of begging.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I mean like
I'm over that. I'm so over that.
As a musician, I can find work. I've started creating a network of people and like musicians and friends and contacts. I have people here. I have people in Oklahoma for sure.
Yeah.
Both sides of Oklahoma, and then I have people in Texas.
Oh, have you been to where they throw a park stomp? I can't remember the name of it.
No.
Oh yeah. Man, that's one of the best places in Oklahoma.
I won't lie. I haven't actually done a whole lot of traveling, other than to Missouri, a little bit into Oklahoma, a little bit into Texas and Tennessee.
So they're where they have park stomp. I'm gonna look it up real quick while we're talking about it. But where they have park stomp, it's in western Oklahoma.
Okay, yeah. So I have people right in the center, and then I have people in just about every corner.
Medicine Park.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, Medicine Park, Oklahoma. If they throw shows there, that's like a benefit for the reservation.
Yeah.
And the town is like run all by natives, and it is like one of the most chill. Like they have the festival directly in the middle of the town, so like there's camping that's like literally like a walk away from the middle of town.
Yeah. And
then like the festival itself just happens right on this river, and it's like the cleanest water. Everybody says that it's super healing. And it's weird when I was there, I had like a couple of people that were from there and just come up to me and like tell me my name and then be like, "You've been here before, haven't you?" And I'm like, "No." Like, what? Like, I've never seen you guys before in my life. Like they didn't even know we were gonna play. Like we were there playing. Nobody even knew we were gonna play. We were like last minute, like the day of us getting there.
That's how it ended up happening for me in Smithsonian. I was not supposed to be on the ballot. Okay, I said that.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Supposed to be is the wrong choice of wording. I was not originally hired to play that festival. Somebody dropped out, and
so you're a cancellation hire.
Fill-in, yeah. So, and they called me a month before the festival, before I was supposed to be there.
And where was that, in New York?
That was in Washington, D.C. I was playing on the National Mall.
Oh, wow.
So I had the White House to my left and the monument to my right.
Whoa.
I was on the Rinsler stage, which is the biggest stage that they have, but then I had all of these Smithsonian buildings around me.
Wow.
So it was really cool. And then they had two sides to the festival. So one side was Ozarks, the faces and facets of the region, and then the other one was creative encounters, living religions in the U.S.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I met the medicine woman that lives in the Ozarks through that festival.
There's a medicine woman that lives in the Ozarks.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Well,
she gave me this bag. She gave me this.
I'll have to go see her. I'm convinced already.
Yeah, no. So I remember the day that I was supposed to play the Rinsler stage, it had rained. So when it rains in Washington, D.C., you are supposed to evacuate into the nearest building.
Okay.
Which
like
is
when you're playing.
Like everybody.
What?
The streets get cleared.
What?
And you see, I'm having this same reaction.
Why?
Whenever because people get struck by lightning
in the middle of Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Huh.
That was the reaction that I had. So I was like, they're raining, and then it starts raining, and there was other issues that had happened which they can't control.
The Washington Monument is right there. Why doesn't it hit the Washington Monument?
Because we were in a bunch of metal tents.
Oh, okay.
Come on, Papa Squirrel.
All right.
Jeez. No. Listen, I had the same reaction. I was like, they're like, it's raining. We need to find a building. I was like, what? Huh? It's rain, man.
Was it lightning? Was it
thundering? No.
Oh, it was just rain. See that?
So here's the thing is like, evidently 3 people had been struck by lightning the year previous. So
huh.
For we're all conductors. We're all just a bunch of conductors, and
wow.
And we're grounded we're literally, right there in an open field. So I about broke my face, going into one of the buildings, but I was there a little bit early for my set.
Yeah.
And I had foam shoes on, like the foam bottom, like the foam soles, and the steps to the Smithsonian are flat marble.
Yeah, I've been there.
Right. So when they're wet and I put foam on them, I slipped. And I had my guitar. That's my only saving grace, But I did almost fall and just like shatter to my death. Oh my gosh, it was terrifying. Especially like it's raining. I'm getting rained on. I'm wearing my dress like for this event. My hair was in like braids, and I had kind of sort of straightened it, and it just went back into ringlets. So if you see that, there's a YouTube link to that. It's called Voice of the Mountain, and I think it's like a night with Carolina Mendoza or something like that. That sounds a little weird. I think it's just Carolina Mendoza. Ryan, don't do that. Don't look that up.
What's going to happen if I look that up?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Oh,
not on me. But it's just the title of another video, and it's just a weird. I'm just like, no. Wait.
Okay.
Oh gosh, this got so dark so fast. Give me a second. All right.
Jeez.
Back to this.
I didn't want to ask about last night either. I regret.
No.
Oh my
gosh. Yeah, that was last night was interesting. It was a great night. I got to jig dance. Did I say it right this time?
Yes, finally.
Cool.
Wow.
I'm gonna embarrass this again.
One of the things that I did was like in the YouTube video for this performance, you can see me in a purple dress, and my hair is pretty long at that point. I mean, it didn't really,
longer than it is now.
Yeah. I chopped my hair off after a mental.
Wow, me too. Wow.
Yeah. I did that in April, and I went from like my waist to my chin. And then I called my hairdresser, and I was like, "Hey, honey, do you have time for me?
I need help."
She's like, "Yeah, hon, what do you need? Do you need an eyebrow wax?" I was like, "No, I need you to fix my hair." I cut it off.
Oh.
And all I saw was just like ... What did you do? And just a real like, what have you done?
Oh my god.
So I sent her pictures. But anyway, we can touch on that mental breakdown later, because it was the start of a whole new career for me as far as like music and doing full time.
I think with creative people that tends to happen is when we're in the middle of it's been that way for me every time. Is every time it seems like shit's like just going down.
Yeah.
Straight down to the hole. So it's like something comes out of nowhere and is like, or there's like newfound like, what's the word? Gumption, I guess, to keep going.
Yeah, so
or to keep pursuing.
That was essentially what happened. Whenever I made one life decision, all of the cogs started turning, and all of a sudden I lost both my jobs. I didn't lose the one. I was planning on leaving the one, but then they cut ties, and the other one had said, well, we're actually going to reduce your hours. I was like, okay,
that's not gonna work, man.
That's not gonna work. You're either gonna keep me on my hours, or I'm just gonna go ahead and part ways peacefully.
Not even worth it at that point.
And it wasn't a bad decision. I was actually just a fill-in, and I knew I was gonna be a temporary, but I couldn't have a reduction of hours. It cut too much into my music for not enough pay.
Yes.
So
I feel that 100%.
Yeah, so I ended up just cutting ties with both of that. And then I had just a whole different change in trajectory for my career, for my music. I ended up playing one festival, and then gave myself 30 minutes, and then drove 5.5 hours to Oklahoma to a festival that I was not getting paid for.
Yeah.
So that I could go see my friends that I got invited to, but I had just a tiny bit in savings that I could manage to spend.
You could like get there and be all right.
Yeah, and that wasn't going to be a problem because I had another gig coming up right after. So that festival in Oklahoma ended up opening up so many doors for me.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I wasn't on the ballot to play at that festival, and I ended up playing more than just about every other artist that was at the festival, including the host.
Wow.
And it was kind of like what you said. You had talked about, like, the festival is within a walk's distance of the tents,
Yeah. Kind of the same deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember we were the festival itself was great. They had a beer garden, but then they also had like the main stage was just like this huge trailer that had been hollowed out, and they had like built around on it. And then we had the man who hosted it, his name is Casper McQuaid.
Okay.
Great songwriter, great performer. And he's recorded Don't Follow with Cody Jinks, but it's more red dirt country and outlaw country, and I don't know what, I was kind of maybe a little bit feeling like my head above water, because I am a folk singer, and I started off in rock, in rock, and then I went to folk music, and I kind of stayed there, and then I started going a little bit into the blues, but really none of those were outlaw country or red dirt country.
Yeah.
But I started playing some songs, and I had opened for him in December, and it was just kind of up in the air at first for like for the 5 months that I was, figuring out my life, because just Just because, you
Just
know.
because, yeah.
Yeah.
You know how it goes.
Yeah.
Trust
and
me.
I mean, it was just intense, you know. And then April happened, and it was the first time that I've traveled that far since Washington D.C. the previous year.
Okay.
You know, I've opened up for Marty Brooks now. I'm headed to Kansas City this weekend to go watch Marty Brooks probably open up for him, and
Cool.
then headline my own show at that same venue.
Cool.
You know?
Very cool.
And it's for my birthday weekend, and
Hell
it's
yeah,
just
you might as fucking go get it, man.
Go get it, indeed. One of the things that I have is this show is not just a celebration for me, but for all of the other birthdays that happen within that. And I've developed a following in Liberty, Missouri. It's called The Farm in Liberty, Missouri. And it just...
I've heard about it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love it. They treat... Well, as musicians, they treat us like royalty. You know? They do. It's just a beautiful... Such a great supportive place, you know? And it's a listening room. But it's outdoors. And it's awesome. You know? They have a great setup for us. There's another place in Conway, which is actually where I met these other people, you know? I mean, Oklahoma, like, just all of the things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. Your listeners are gonna be so confused because I don't think I've finished a single story.
I keep asking questions is what happens. I keep just being like, in this, and this, and this.
Yeah, this is gonna be a great 88, like a great spicy brain.
Yeah.
A great spicy brain podcast.
I feel like to follow creative people, you have to kind of
be a little spicy in the brain.
You gotta be a little spicy. I think you gotta be a little ADD maybe.
Yeah.
Because most of us are. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah. So what's in really just so awesome is how certain life choices, you know, will affect the rest of it later on.
Oh yeah.
I used to work for a university that, you know, had a children's program that studied, you know, like they studied it, but also they had a clinic for children with medical special needs, developmental delays, and sensory processing disorders.
Okay.
Right? So that means mobility issues, and it also means like just a lot of different things. So a lot of these medical like the sensory processing disorders, I had to work around and figure out how to communicate, you know, with back and forth with children.
Yeah.
Who were from the ages of 6 months old to 6 years old.
Who can't communicate the normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of my things, and I was talking to our lovely guest here, was sometimes we as adults who did not have that help don't know how to communicate properly.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really interesting because
I still have those kind of issues.
Yeah.
Totally.
I've had to become very mindful.
I'm almost 30 and I'm still.
I am 31.
Oh man, and it doesn't get any easier, does it?
Oh man. So the only reason that I can say that I can is because I had to be very mindful, very mindful of of how I communicated things to my children, my students.
Yeah, you have to take the right tone for sure.
It's not just the right tone, it's actually the wording of a question, because there were kids that I could word it one way and they would get it automatically, you know?
Yeah.
And it's as simple as putting a water bottle on the table, right? And you can ask them, where is the water bottle? And they can't answer you. They can't say on the table. But you ask them, is the water bottle under the table or over the table? And they're like, it's on the table. They can answer you like that. You have to word things a different way.
Interesting.
That's
very interesting.
Yeah. So are there more, or which one has more versus, you know, are there more here on the say a stack of cubes, you know, 2 stacks of cubes. One has 6 blue cubes, and the other one has 9 red cubes, right? So
Okay.
color means absolutely nothing. But which one has more? And you're looking at this, and I'm trying to explain it so that way, like, whoever's listening can at least get a broad picture of what you're looking at as a child being asked this. Which one has more versus does the red have more or does the blue have more? It's just the way you word things. And also, if you give more than 2-step instructions, or 3-step instructions, they don't understand it because the only thing that they're going to hear is the last thing you said to them. So they've already...
So it has to be as simple and succinct as possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really enjoy your use of the word succinct because I use it a lot. I don't know that I've ever heard it be used back.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? That surprises me.
I was a nerd.
Me too.
I was a big book nerd back in high school and middle school.
Yeah, when I was like 8, I carried a dictionary around. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
I would just like carried it around just to read it.
So I learned English when I was about 6 years old. I was taught in Iowa that has in a place where there is no accent.
So are you a native Spanish speaker?
I am.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Both of my parents are Mexican, and they are both. They're both native Spanish speakers. My brothers, up until my little brother and directly my older brother, were all Spanish speakers. They learned, and they still have an accent. And it's really weird because, like, some of us have accents and some of us don't. So it's like... Yeah. It's definitely a question that gets raised.
That's very interesting.
It is. And, like, it's just... it's cool, to have... Yeah. To know and to have, and, I forgot my point.
Well, you made me jump to this other thing, and then I think that should be enough time. It's almost an hour, and I'll have to edit a little intro in.
Oh, goodness.
That reminds me of this book I